everybody, welcome to my updated shred build push guide. I know I released one a couple days ago. I wanted to go ahead and show you the updates that I am making to it because I'm pretty much always testing things. So first off, let's go into the gear. Still using Tempest Roar, still using Aspect of Disobedience, using quad damage reductions there. The reason why you want the quad damage reductions over everything is because it's whenever you're pushing to high tiers, you just need the damage reduction. There's just no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. Stormclaw's aspect. So this is one of the first changes. I switched from Hurricane to Stormclaw so I could get a little bit more burst on my crits, because I am going to be critting more because of the next change that we'll get into in a second. But attack speed, lucky hit chance, ranks of shred, critical strike chance is all pretty good on that. Then you want to use Aspect of Might. I weave in my storm strikes throughout there. However, if you don't want to have to weave anything, well actually, sorry, I take that back. It's always optimal to weave your Storm Strike, and the reason why is because Storm Strike also gives you a damage reduction buff. So you're already going to be doing this anyway if you're playing properly. So you might as well just run the might. However, if you want it to be a little bit easier, you can run just 10% damage reduction while in werewolf form or whatever. However, I think it's better practice for you to just get used to weaving in your Storm Strike, because you're missing out on 25% damage reduction from your Storm Strike when you don't do that. So, but you want quad damage reductions on that. Boots. While Hurricane is active, gain +2 ranks to shapeshifting skills. This is still what I had before. Damage reduction while injured, total % armor while in werewolf form, move speed, dexterity, just stacking defenses. It's the most important thing when you're trying to push to higher levels. Second, so this is the first big change here. Waxing Gibious. I was using a two-handed axe, now I'm using a one-handed axe and a totem, and the reason for this is this gives guaranteed crits. I had a lot of people wanting me to test this out, so I tested it out. It's really good. It's really, really good, right? You know, I got one. I finally found a Waxing Gibious that actually has I finally found a Waxing Gibious that actually had the damage I needed on it, so it wasn't going to be a huge downgrade, so I could actually get a proper test on it, and it is absolutely astronomically amazing. It also makes the build scale really well with attack speed, so you can get more crits out in your crit windows. However, you don't necessarily need to stack attack speed. It just kind of depends on what you are looking for. So, that being said, moving on over, I moved Blurred Beast to the necklace. The reason why I did this is because you get about a 40% increase when you move it to the necklace. Whereas if I left this on the necklace, I was only getting a 20% increase. So I'm getting more damage overall by putting Blurred Beast here. Now, I think some people might put Stormclaws here, but I don't recommend it because I think you're only getting a 15% increase, like 15% damage increase with Stormclaws, whereas again you'd be getting a 40% here, and I don't see how that increase would ever beat what you're getting from Blurred Beast. So for the necklace, you want % total armor in werewolf form, damage reduction from poison, damage reduction from fortified, and cooldown reduction. Still looking for a nuts necklace, but I have not found one yet. Next, we have Dire Wolf's Band. Grizzly Rage now shapeshifts you into a Dire Werewolf. This turns this to the Werewolf ability. You know, I'm sure everybody has seen this before, but it gives you spirit cost reduction and movement speed. And then we have Aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast. So this is going to increase the duration of your Grizzly Rage and also gives you the critical strike damage buff every time you crit, which is why Waxing Gibious becomes really, really good. On top of that, you combine that with Stormclaws. Since you're critting all the time, you just start to get way better performance than like what I was getting with Hurricane and the Blurred Beast, the two-handed weapon. On your rings, you're going to want critical strike chance, critical strike damage, lucky hit chance, and vulnerable, or you can go for max life instead of lucky hit chance. So my rings aren't amazing. I still need to go farm some more Forgotten Souls and stuff for those, as you can see, because I mean I have critical strike damage with the Earth skills. Oh my gosh, I don't even know why I left that on there. I literally could have taken anything else that would have been better. Alright, so then we have a totem, and this is going to be the big thing, right? So I know a lot of people think Waxing Gibious is like the crazy thing here. I actually think this is the bigger thing, is running a totem. And the reason for that is because you can run 2 damage reductions on the totem. You can get damage reduction while fortified and damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned. That to me is way better than any damage increase that you can get. I have not had damage issues with any version of this build that I have played. The main issue I've always had is survivability, so Waxing Gibious being able to give you those guaranteed crits on top of giving you access to being able to run a totem that you then get to run damage reduction on is massive. So you want to go critical strike chance, CDR, damage reduction from while fortified, and damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned. To me, that is going to be the nuts That's going to be the nuts totem for high pushing. If you're lower, I think you might be able to roll attack speed on these, so you could do that. But not only that, the cooldown reduction you get, because you're running Tempest Roar, you're missing 10% cooldown reduction. So when you run the totem, you're now actually getting back 10% cooldown reduction on top of another 10%. So you actually go from having, you know, just the 10% from the necklace to having like 30% cooldown reduction, right? Which is massive when you think about your Grizzly Rage uptime. So I still need to re-roll this over. I could still definitely find a better totem for sure. This, because right now with my gear, I'm missing 2 damage reduction stats, about 30% on my chest piece. I'm missing another 20% on my necklace, and I'm missing another like 20, I'd say actually about 28%, because I min-rolled the damage reduction from poisoned on here on this. That's a ton of damage reduction, right? That is a ton of damage reduction that I still have on the table to get. So I think, you know, me personally, I think once all the damage reduction is there, I don't see why this build would not be able to push into the 90s or to even clear a 100. Maybe that's a bold claim. Maybe that's a bold claim. I don't know. We're going to see. I'm going to keep working towards that 100, see if I can get it. But I don't see any reason why once you have the absolute nuts gear, why you would not be able to fish and get like a 100 blind burrows or something on this. So in terms of skills and abilities, actually, sorry, we'll go over Spirit Moons first. Wariness, Iron Feather, Calamity, Masochistic, and Calm Before the Storm. These are going to be the boons that I'm taking. If you want to, you can go for an attack speed stack, switch to the one that says critical strikes with attack speed, and then also run like swooping attacks, for example, if you want to try to really maximize the amount of crits you're getting out of waxing Gibious, which I don't think is a bad idea at all. So if that's the way you want to go, you can do that. You can also run, you know, the attack speed on your Bloodhound. Now, I don't use this as a spirit generator anymore, because since this is a Grizzly Rage build, I don't find a whole lot of spirit issues, and especially since I'm level 100 and I have the spirit fixing things and the Paragon, I don't really have an issue with it. So we have Fierce Storm Strike, Enhanced Storm Strike, or sorry, I guess Enhanced Storm Strike, Fierce Storm Strike. God, I said that backwards, but Immobilize, Vulnerable, pretty good stuff. Shred, Enhanced Shred, and Primal Shred. This gives you the dash on the second and third attack and increases your critical strike damage by 30%. Gonna go ahead, you know, take these passives here. Wild Impulses, increase your shred damage by 20%. Get more crit, get more movement speed. And then we're gonna come down here. We're gonna take Cyclone Armor, Enhanced Cyclone Armor, and Preserving Cyclone Armor. And then we're also gonna take Vigilance. Now, one thing that you also have to get used to when you're playing this build is you just need to use these cooldowns even if you're at full health, because you want to be trying to cycle and keeping the uptime on your Vigilance up as much as you can. So, you know, using things like going like Bloodhound, waiting 6 seconds, and then using Cyclone Armor, right, is going to keep the uptime on your Vigilance pretty good. And if you're killing things, you might actually be able to maintain, you're not going to maintain 100% uptime, because there's going to be times when this actually has a normal cooldown. But when you think about it, and you also think about, you know, once I get 10% more cooldown reduction on this, that might actually reduce this by another 1 or 2 seconds, meaning that if I'm using these constantly, I will always have my Bloodhound proccing this and it being up, right? So this is just another thing when you get the nuts gear, it just gives you more uptime on all your damage reduction and stuff like that. So I'm very, very happy with the direction this build is going. Okay, moving right along. We have Hurricane, Enhanced Hurricane, Savage Hurricane, Damage Reducer, also makes things slowed, so you're going to proc things like crowd controlled enemy damage and stuff like that easier. Taking Endless Tempest and Elemental Exposures for more access to Vulnerable, as well as increasing the duration of this by a couple seconds to keep it up even longer. I guess it's just by like 1 second, but anyway. So moving right along, one thing too is I'm not 100% certain that this is 100% the best thing, but what you could do is you could take this and you can move it down into Unrestrained, because you can't really get quick shift here because you're always in werewolf form and you have to specifically transform into a different form, but every single one of your abilities turns you into a werewolf, so you just stay as a werewolf, so you don't actually get value out of this. But you could move it over here. That's really the only other option that I'm seeing, unless you wanted to take it and just put more points into Bloodhowl or something like that. So that being said, we're taking Neurotoxin, we're taking Toxic Claws, we're taking Envenom, so more damage, just more damage stuff, putting more poison on things. Then we're taking Grizzly Rage, Prime Grizzly Rage, Supreme Grizzly Rage, and then we're taking defensive posture and 3 points into Nature's Resolve so we can get more fortify while we are being hit. And then we are taking Lupine Ferocity. Every 6 werewolf skill hit critically strikes and deals 70% increased damage, which is pretty nice, especially with Hurricane, because when Hurricane's on and you're in a group of enemies, you proc that like mad. So it's pretty nice. It is pretty nice. So that's the abilities. Moving on to the Paragon. So the main change in the Paragon is I kept the Constricting Tendrils board because we actually do get some value out of it. First thing is we get a very high amount of dexterity for our poisoned, or for our tracker glyph. So we're using this because we are going to be poisoning enemies all the time, so this is really, really good. It also makes your poisoning damage effects last 33% longer, which is a direct damage, which is a pretty big damage increase for your Blurred Beast. Now, if you go over here to the skill tree, okay, do I have, all right, and I'm just going to take out 3 points here. I'm going to blow up all my gold, but 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, so now I want to just show you the example here. So we're going to put a point to Poison Creeper. We're going to put a point to Enhance Poison Creeper. And then I want you to look at the damage here. So you have 9,000 damage now, right? Put this in. Now you have 18,000 damage, right? So when you increase the duration, with the way it works in this game is it directly just increases the poison damage by a ton. So, oh no. Oh no. Well, rip all my gold from all this respecking. Anyway, it's okay. I'll just have a random point to Poison Creeper for a second. So, that being said, that's the reason why I run that. And then since things are going to be poisoned, this is just going to be really good. And this is a really good glyph slot, so I took the points out of Constricting Tendrils because since we're not buffing the damage of Hurricane anymore, it's not really necessary because we're not going to be able to apply a poison big enough, I think, anymore to justify taking that. So I took that off. I also took the points out of Nature Magic skill stuff over here. And yeah, so here we go. So exploit. This is just going to give you access to vulnerable, etc. Kind of come through here, take all this damage stuff. Tracker. For every 5 dexterity, increases your poison damage. Things last 33% longer. Moving right along. And another thing cool we get out of this is damage to crowd controlled enemies. And because we have Hurricane, we do proc this, and we also get max life out of this, which is really nice. I'm a big fan of max life, so I actually really like going through this board because of that. And we do get some good damage increasers that we can still utilize through here, as well as even in this one we still get 16% damage to elites here, which is why I actually took this node. So moving right along, now we're taking Undaunted, gain damage while fortified, and you also get 10% damage reduction the more fortify you have. I was thinking about taking Bane, but because of the way, functionally speaking, Bane is not that great. It does increase your poison damage, but this would also increase your poison damage, and that 10% chance to proc double the poison, I don't find it to be like that worth it, because it's a 10% chance you have, but the question is, how often are you going to proc it? And 2, are you even going to proc it on the right poison, right? Because like if you proc it on your Hurricane poison, who cares, right? Like that's really good when you're running things like Poison Creeper, where you're getting all your damage from like one source, I think. Whereas I think this is going to give you more damage, more consistent damage. So that's why I went with that. It also gives you another 10% damage reduction, which is really important higher up. So moving right along, picking up the core skill damage, picking up more core skill damage, coming over here, picking up some of the spirit fixing stuff, and then also picking up Ancestral Guidance. Now, Ancestral Guidance isn't amazing in this build, but you will proc it eventually, so I do still think it's worth taking, because when you have all the spirit reduction, you have to cast Shred a lot before you can proc it, but I still think it's fine, because you will eventually proc it. So then, coming up here, Heightened Malice, and then coming over here, picking up damage to elites, more damage to poisoned enemies, more damage to poisoned enemies, coming up here, picking up, damage to poisoned enemies, picking up poison damage, poison damage, poison damage, coming over here, using Territorial. So with Territorial, this increases your damage to close targets, and you get 10% more damage reduction. So I think this is really good. It combos well with Stormclaw. It combos well with the whole entire build, really. Like everything utilizes this, so I think it's really good. Then come on over here, I'm getting 4% damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned. And I do think it might be worth it on like your gloves or something if you can roll intelligence onto the gloves, because I feel like there's a couple nodes in here where I'm like 30 short, where if I just rolled like some intelligence onto like one piece of gear, I would activate a couple nodes. So I definitely need to do that for a little bit of Paragon optimizing, I guess. So anyway, so 4% damage reduction for enemies that are poisoned, 2%, 2%. So you're getting 8% here, and then if you get this proc, you get another 4%. So that's going to be like 12% total once you have everything kind of maximized out. Then we have damage to poisoned enemies. You know, obviously more damage to poisoned enemies. Coming over here, we have Spirit. So this is pretty good because it puts a multiplier. It does put a multiplier on them of 12% every single time you crit, and you are going to be critting a lot, so this is really good. Because you're going to be critting so much, this is absolutely great. Now, I do think that I might need to move this to another glyph. Maybe I think it might be more optimal to swap it out with, for example, this one, because I think focusing on critical strike damage is better. I just haven't done it yet. But I do think that making sure you maximize this one is better. So probably should go ahead and switch those. That being said, coming over here, we have Lust for Carnage. This is going to help you with spirit fixing. And then I came down here and I took damage over time reduction, more damage over time reduction, and then crowd controlled reduction. This is for if you do have any downtime, just to try to help if you get CC'd. It'll help out quite a bit with that. All right. So that's going to be it for the Paragon. So now we can go ahead and hop on into a dungeon, and I'll just show you. I'm not going to do anything crazy high yet, but I will show you just kind of the differences in terms of like how it performs functionally. All right, here we are in Alderwood. So, and you have a decent amount of just kind of one-shot potential on things with the Stormclaw, at least on these kind of mobs, like you can see here. So this isn't anything too crazy high. This is a 103, but I mean, you can see how easily it's taking care of things. I'm killing things so fast, I don't really even have time to stack up poison or anything on it. Not only that, this build is actually pretty speedy. So, if you're looking for a really good higher end shred build, I think doing this or some type of variation on this is probably going to be one of the best you can get. Especially considering, since it's running the one-handed with a totem, the amount of access to damage reduction you get. So, alright, let's go here.
I must wait a moment.
Yep, and I will have some more pushing videos coming up in the future. Stay updated on that. I just really need to find some gear that I've been looking for so I can really try to go for that 100 push. Yeah. But we will see. Alright. Bam. Yeah, so you literally just kind of, and because you have like the dash on like every single hit, you're just perma-dashing everywhere. And I'm not even able to build up poison. We haven't even really utilized Blurred Beast yet. Like, if you're in a dungeon, and you'll probably see it more so on the boss, where you can actually like hit things and then just start pecking at it to build it up, you'll just start seeing like really massive hits. Now, I will say this, the traditional Blurred Beast build that does not utilize Grizzly Rage does technically do more damage, but I think this build has better access to defense. So, because I still have yet to see any crit that has ever come close to what I was doing when I was playing the, even like that companion one. If for some reason they add in a legendary that gives you better access to damage reduction while you have companion skills on your bar, I think that'll actually end up being like the high. That would probably end up being like the best version of the shred build in terms of damage. Like I was hitting for like 20-30 million in that, if I hit like a good Bane proc and stuff like that. So whereas this is hitting, you know, not bad, right? Like you can hit, I've definitely hit in like the multiple millions with it, but it's nowhere near the same damage. But you also don't necessarily need all that damage though. That's the other thing too, right? So like just because a build can do like a ton of damage doesn't mean you like need to do that much damage. So like, you also have to have, you know, defense, which functionally speaking that build struggles with because of how much you have to invest to put companions on your bar.
I'm not ready.
But that being said, there is probably a...
I'm not ready yet.
There probably will in the future have more legendaries added like that, so I'm pretty happy. Everything overall. All right, keep going. It's kind of wrecking face here. I think I think I may have went too low because I wanted to show you guys like the poison build up, but I think I should be able to do that on the boss.
I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, because we're not necessarily seeing like a whole lot of blurred beast damage here. A little bit, but not a whole lot.
I'm not ready yet.
Okay, kill this guy. See if, yeah, okay, right there was some blurred beast damage actually. Because the thing is too, is whenever you kill something, right, and then I shred them and I crit them, that's going to apply a pretty decent sized poison onto them. So then if I back up and I attack them again, then they just die, right? Like that. See? Like every single time you crit, you're applying a poison. And so, and the way Blurred Beast works is it applies all the poison that's on the target. So you kind of just slowly stack up poison and then just do this kind of really big hit and explosion.
Wait a moment.
Okay. Moving right along to the boss here. And you can also put like, you know, the unstoppable movement speed on your boots and stuff. There's ways to turn this into like a really solid speed farming build too. Okay, so the damage should just start increasing by quite a bit. Yeah, see. Now, the waxing Gibious is not amazing on bosses, right? So, if you have ads like on this one, right? If you have ads like on this one, which I guess I got stunned throughout the whole thing, but then it's not too bad. But if you don't have ads, it can be you're not really gonna be utilizing your waxing Gibious at all. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys like the updates. I think the build got quite a bit stronger by making these switches. Thanks for the suggestions in the comments about, you know, trying out waxing Gibious and stuff like that. Alrighty, well, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time.